This is Joseph Whipp, Sheriff Burke, and Sergeant Parker, and you're listening to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast. Just want to thank all of our fans and listeners. Really appreciate the support. You guys are awesome. Before we get into tonight's film review, just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Everything about our podcast is on the website. All of our episodes and interviews, if you want to check those out. We've done some incredible interviews in the past. Go check them out there in a specific tab by themselves so you don't have to scroll through hundreds of episodes on Apple or Spotify, etc. We also have our store if you want to grab a shirt, a mouse pad, a hat, all that good stuff. We'd love to see your pictures, rep your favorite podcast. And Shan's Etsy page is also attached if you want to grab a tumbler. All of our social media links are on there as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Like us, subscribe us, follow us, all that good stuff. And the last thing I want to shout out on our website is our Patreon. We call it Blood Donors. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. If you want to support us, help us pay the bills, as we say. Or if there's a movie you want us to review, that option is available as well. Just check out our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Also, if you haven't noticed, we've recently joined the Believe Network. So there's some ads on our program now. But if you want ad-free content, go check us out on Blood Donors. The ad-free episodes will be available there. We appreciate your support. We hope you enjoy the episode. We're going to be taking on one of Dana Tucker's 3 legendary blood donor choices.
3.
We are going with 1997's, I believe, Kiss the Girls.
Question?
I'll give my general thoughts. I thought the movie was pretty good. I had not seen it beforehand, and so I was unfamiliar with his game. But what I am familiar with is Mr. Morgan Freeman. I think he's an underrated actor. He is good as hell. And when I say underrated, I just feel like he's not given the props like a Denzel or like a Brad, Leo. Like Morgan's really good in everything I've seen him in. Like he's exceptional. I don't have any qualms with question. Okay.
Because you just brought something up. Let's go
here we go.
Address this up front. No.
Brad
You
Pitt
just brought his name up. Morgan Freeman killed this, but Denzel was originally set to star in this movie, but dropped out for scheduling conflicts.
Mm-hmm. Didn't know
How
that.
would you feel about the movie?
I would still feel the same.
See,
okay, is Denzel in
Denzel
Bone Collector or is he in
Bone
Double
Collector.
Jeopardy? So and to me, that's interchangeable. And so, I think it would be fantastic with Morgan Freeman or him. So I think that it would be the same here.
So I don't know what it is. This is probably the only time that I'll ever say this in my life. But I'm glad Denzel wasn't in this one. I think Morgan Freeman.
I think that's fair.
He was so fucking smooth and cool in this movie. I don't know.
I agree. Like Denzel's got like that. I don't know. Like Morgan has like that more meek presence on screen. Like he's comforting. Denzel's got like that leader, powerful kind of lead, on screen.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have been bad, but I'm happy Morgan got the job. Like he was great
for sure.
But anywho, general thoughts. Good movie, but I don't think it was anything particularly like stand outish. I just think it was a solid movie. Me and Dustin were texting about it the other day. It's kind of one of those movies that I don't know if it was back in the day, but like one of those ones you'd see on TNT or TBS.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
And you just,
that in my notes.
I'll just turn that on, watch it.
Yep.
Nothing great, but it's still good. It's worth a watch. I don't really have many complaints except it's just run of the mill 90s thriller, but it was still good.
I've actually always been a fan of these Alex Cross movies, and I think it was actually Nico that I was talking to when I made this comment, and this kind of goes along with what you just said, but these were and still are a comfort food movie to me, if that makes sense. It's one of those movies where you just watch it anytime it comes on. This brought up Double Jeopardy, Bone Collector, and Along Came a Spider. We're all in that same little wheelhouse in the 90s that I'm a sucker for all of these movies. Yeah. So, which is probably why I always rate crime thrillers so high on here is because of that. And my grandpa used to actually read all of these James Patterson novels religiously. So he'd always critique the movies and how they weren't as good as the books. But couple all of that with Morgan Freeman, who seemed to be in everything in the 90s, including one of my favorite movies growing up, Prince of Thieves. And because of all of that, I actually akin Morgan Freeman with my grandpa, to whom I was very close with growing up. So I almost never have anything bad to say, anything Morgan Freeman's in, because of all of these connections I feel like I have with the man. But anyway, this movie I liked a lot. I think it's a great double feature to pair with Along Came a Spider. I'm glad it was picked. It's been on my list with all of the aforementioned as well.
Before you go, Mike, I just want to throw this out there. Dana has said she's considering swapping her pick. He's out there to Bone Collector. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your pick, but I wouldn't be mad at it. I think Bone Collector is great.
Be mad at that.
It is.
Yeah, so I'd also never seen the movie. I had heard of it, but I had never seen it. And I kind of echo what you guys say. It's really good. I think it's a good watch in the sense that it keeps my attention for the whole runtime, which you guys know we were getting up there towards 2 hours. It was looking a little funky for me, but I do think it keeps my attention.
So this is one of those movies that I texted. This is a TNT classic. Like this movie and Murder at 1600, I feel like was always on for a stretch of time. I've seen this movie a bunch of times, and I rewatched it not that long ago, actually, when I inherited from a patron saint a bunch of DVDs and Blu-rays to add to my collection, and I rewatched it then. Thanks, Brian. And look, I think it's a good movie. I think it's very well acted. I do think, though, Nico, I put it in my Letterboxd review of this movie. Very run-of-the-mill.
All right, well, if you guys have anything else to say before I'm doing the scene-by-scene this week. All right, here we go. We open up with the Casanova voiceover, and look, I know that it's Carrie Elway's voice. How do you say that, by the way? Elway? How do you say it?
I think it's Els, right? Elwas? I don't know.
Elwas?
Because ain't it?
Come on, that's your boy, Nico.
I call him Robin Hood.
I call him Dr. Gordon.
All right.
I call him Robin Hood.
Look, and I know it's Dr. Gordon's voice, altered just a bit, but I'm sorry, you honestly cannot convince me that it's not Billy Zane's voice from Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight. It sounds just like Billy Zane. Anyway, during the credits, we get that luscious voice showing us that Casanova has been busy over the years. We then cut to a boxing class being taught by famous forensic psychologist Alex Cross himself, already deep into his career, when he gets a beep about a case. That tells you what time period we're in. We have beepers. And heads to a crime scene where he finds a tense situation with a battered woman who has, as he quickly deliberates, killed her husband and is taken up in a room with a gun. Cross very easily de-escalates the situation. Later that evening, Alex arrives to his sister's house and learns that his niece Naomi, a college student in Durham, North Carolina, has been missing for 4 days. He promises to handle the situation, and despite anxiety from John and his family, he takes off to Durham. We then cut to a young woman, Megan Murphy, being drugged through the woods, begging, who we find out by this voice is Casanova, telling him she will be good and she will mind this time. He asks her to tell him that she loves him, to which she does, but we assume that it did not go well as we hard cut to the next scene. Alex arrives to Durham, asks to see Chief Hatfield, but is kept waiting for hours. He finally decides to head to the back himself, where he finds a bulletin board of information on the cases, learning that multiple women are missing, including his niece. He's met by Detective Sykes and Ruskin, is told they have another body, and asks Cross if he'd like to ride with them out to the scene. Go ahead.
All right. I love the opening narration, the opening credits. I thought it was great. It's ominous, scary, and it puts you in like a weird mood. I don't know if maybe I'm wrong here, but it sort of reminded me of Dexter in a way, like the opening scenes of those. Morgan Freeman instantly puts a smile on my face. I just enjoy every movie I've seen him in. He's never turned in a bad performance to me. I think he's been consistently great in everything he's done. I will admit it is impressive. He looks younger here than he did in Shawshank, which came out 3 years prior. Intense visuals seeing Diana with the gun in her mouth soon as Cross enters the bedroom. Whatever a cop that does this gets paid, it isn't enough. I could never do that job. I think Cross does a phenomenal job talking Diana out of shooting herself. Freeman is captivating like always. Bill Nunn, the actor who played Samson, respectfully, I had to do a double take. I thought it was Kenan Thompson. I ain't even gonna lie. A person's worst nightmare, finding out a family member is missing. I can't imagine that. We just did The Captive last week. Horrifying thought. Scary scene with the crying and scared woman being led through the woods by this mysterious man. I hadn't seen this movie, so I was just kind of like, what's going on? This is really, really scary. And another thing that I didn't recognize is I didn't recognize Carrie Elwes at first, to be honest. I didn't know who that was until I looked through the Internet Movie Database and saw that. I thought it was a good set of opening scenes. I'm invested so far.
Yeah, I actually really like the opening set of scenes here. First of all, we see Boca, of all places. Go Owls, am I right? Anyway, yeah, the guy here, our main villain's already creeping me out. I do like this voiceover quite a bit. I think it's a great way to kind of set up a crime film. We've seen it a bunch in other crime films. I think it's a great way to get started. Younger Morgan Freeman's always kind of funny to see at this point. But I liked it. Like we mentioned earlier in the show between Morgan Freeman and Denzel, who we'd want. I just think in this particular film, Morgan Freeman fits really, really well. Man, what a tough role as a criminal psychologist here. He tells her to put the gun to her temple instead of her mouth. That was, man, tough words. But I do like how he's not totally dismissing the idea of her killing herself. It's mind games in a way that, it's just really smart work for what he's trying to do. And like I said, it's just great cop work. And we've seen a lot of shitty cop work on this show, so I know everyone else appreciated that too. Tatiana Ali for a brief moment there. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave that as it is. Durham, North Carolina, shout out to the Bulls, the Durham Bulls. Man, the kind of abuse they're talking about here makes me sick to my stomach. It's just, I hate it. And then they have this man sit in the police officer or the police station there for hours, and they just chalk it off as things move a little slower in the South. Man, fuck you. Let's get it together. We're laid back around here, my ass.
Yeah, very 90s ass opening credits. Like, holy shit, that felt like the 90s. But they're effective, even all these years later. Like, we see some sick shit is going down before cutting to Alex Cross in the gym. Tense moment when he opens the door and we see Diane with the gun in her mouth, and the tension is broken up nicely by him saying the gun is just as effective against the temple and it makes it easier to talk. Morgan Freeman, he's just so damn smooth, like I said. We meet Samson, and I got to tell you, Nico, you mentioned Kenan Thompson, but it's hilarious to me that Tyler Perry plays Alex Cross in the latest movie in this franchise when he looks a lot more like Samson. Like, they look similar to me. And we see Craig's mom from Friday. Crazy that she's uncredited in this role. When Cross first enters the Durham Police Station Command Center, he walks along a bulletin board showing photos of missing girls. And as the camera tracks along the board, one of the girls in the portraits, it's Hilary Swank. She's one of the victims. And she would, of course, go on to star with Morgan Freeman in $1 Million Baby. The sound when he's in that room, though, annoying as hell. The techie sounds in the background got on my last nerve. No shot I'd be able to work in those in that environment. But it's cool seeing what Brian Cox was up to before he moved to Vermont and became the captain of the state troopers. That's cool. At least he was still in law enforcement. Overall, it's pretty decent open.
All right. Cross, Ruskin, and Sykes discuss the cases on the way out to Megan's crime scene. During the drive, Cross asks the skin color of the girl, very obviously worried it could be Naomi. Upon their arrival, they find Megan murdered and tied to a tree. Cross is introduced to Chief Hatfield, who seems to have a sort of a dick measuring contest with him, but quickly runs into a longtime FBI friend, Special Agent Kyle Craig, who gives Cross more details on the criminal, re-emphasizing how good Casanova is at the game. We are then introduced to Ashley Judd's Kate McTiernan, a doctor and kickboxer. After brief stints watching McTiernan in action in both playgrounds, where she definitely excels at both, we cut back to Cross finding the common thread between the women that are extraordinary in some fashion, and that he doesn't believe killing is Casanova's prime motive, that he is, in fact, a collector. A bone collector? Hey. We cut back to Kate living out a seemingly normal evening until she becomes the next kidnapping victim of Casanova. The next day, we find Alex looking through Naomi's room, noticing her violin is missing, and finding a picture of her and her boyfriend, Seth Samuels, to whom he decides to pay a visit. He asks about the violin and tells Seth the cops have absolutely no clue.
All right, this is something that I fixed at the end, but, I was just taking my notes I was watching, but I thought Carrie Elwes' Ruskin Southern accent, I thought it was pretty awful. But I do like how they, reveal it at the end that it was like a fake accent. Great. horrifying crime scene would be a miserable, miserable way to die with your hands tied to a tree, just getting left there. That would be such a horrifying way to die. Nothing special to say about Brian Cox and his character right now, except the man is a legend. Yeah. He's appeared how many times on our show now? 4 times at least with this, Autopsy of Jane Doe, The Ring, and Trick or Treat. The guy's amazing.
Yeah.
From the description of this detective, this killer is a horrific person. All the damage he does to them sexually, then just leaves them tied to a tree for the critters to get. I got to reiterate how terrifying that is. Ashley Judd does fantastic telling the girl's family of her head trauma. That's yet another job I could not do, is be a doctor. And holy shit, I got a huge pop out of this. It's Tae Bo. That brought on some nostalgia. I remember doing Tae Bo lessons when I was in elementary school, for Pete's sake. This was a hell of a transition, though, from devastating news in the hospital to a Tae Bo sparring session. Hell yeah. This is a terrible nitpick on my behalf, but it does bother me. This scene with Kate in the bedroom hearing the thudding is not as suspenseful as it could have been, in my opinion. There's so much noise going on. There's branches scraping the window. The score is playing. There's creaky floors. Maybe there's just too much sensory overload for me, but I feel like less is more sometimes in those kind of scenes. And I bet PETA would had a fit seeing this fish tank explosion, those fish on the ground. I know they were losing it. I know Kate was in pain from that incident, but damn, a lack of urgency, in my opinion, as the invader walks down the stairs to her. Like, get up and try and run a little bit. Come on now. This might be another nitpick, but it is minor, I guess. But the pickup basketball scene, it was well portrayed. It was believable. It seemed real. But was it necessary in the grand scheme of things? Let's keep things moving a little bit. And I do feel like Seth was a little overly hostile to Cross, but it was a very good moment between the two once they start talking in his apartment. I did like that.
North Carolina is really beautiful. I don't know if they're actually filming in North Carolina here, but still, seeing some of the shots of the scenery there, it's beautiful up this way for sure. And I called it out here. Carrie Elwes, man, I knew this lead detective was involved. And spoiler alert, if you haven't already seen the film, by the way, you should go watch this movie this time, then listen to our review. But anyway, I knew he was involved. And by the way, of course, it was the worst acting. Shout out to our episode on Saw, where I kind of called him out. Anyway, and I just don't like these drawn-out Southern aristocratic accents. Like, I don't think they're up a thing they're a thing up this way, at least not to my knowledge. But I am really invested in the story so far. It has all the stuff I look for in these crime, suspense thrillers. We talked about these TNT Monday evening movies that, we all grew up on. This is kind of the stuff I'm looking for. Ashley Judd, hadn't seen anything with her in a long time. Only time I see her now is at Kentucky basketball games in the stands. Man, in this boxing thing, this is poor technique by this guy. I mean, what are we doing? It's put your hands up, stick those hits. Billy fucking Blanks, another situation what Tae Bo hadn't heard of in a long time. I also never understood having a fish as a pet. And it's just a giant tank of fish. Like what are you doing? Like, I don't know. Shout out to anyone that does have fish. I've never understood it. Some of the shots they get while it's raining on Ashley Judd here using the shadow works really, really well. It really adds to the mood and atmosphere, which is something you've heard me say a million times. I was fully expecting a jump scare fake out, but nope, actual kidnapper, which, again, I just wasn't expecting the first time I saw the film. Great song in this basketball scene, and my God, this is a young-ass Richard T. Jones. It was really, really fun to see.
Yeah, hey, it's Ranch Wilder, voice of the California Angels. That's who he'll always be. J.O. Sanders, that's Ranch Wilder. But anyway, we hear the killer is a real sick son of a bitch, brutal stuff here. But then we see University of North Carolina's football stadium and Duke's campus made to seem as if they're the same place. That had to thrill Tar Heels and Blue Devils alike. Ashley Judd, just great casting. Being a surgeon in real life has to be such a taxing job, though. I couldn't imagine having to break bad news to families all the time. And then, yep, you mentioned it, Nico. We get Billy Blanks as the trainer. Guess Tae Bo wasn't enough to support his lifestyle. The cast is phenomenal from top to bottom, but perhaps my favorite casting is Tracy Walter as the bookstore clerk. Small role, but he was Bob in 1989's Batman, but also he was Leon in one of my favorite childhood movies, Wild America. Shout out to that movie. When Kate is woke up by the noises, why the hell did she not turn on any lights? That bugs the shit out of me. If she would have, she probably would have seen that aquarium at the bottom of the steps. Dumbass. I don't want to victim blame, but her falling through the aquarium was her fault. Then we get a pretty standard couple of scenes right after. Typical basketball scene and run-of-the-mill, I've told the cops everything, now leave me alone. So it is what it is, but not a bad set of scenes.
All right. Kate wakes up very dreary from her sedation in a stone-walled room where you can hear water running in the background. She's met by Casanova sitting bedside, who tells her he admires her talents and intelligence, and that's why she was picked. He promises she won't suffer if she complies with his rules and that she's there to fall in love and experience love. We are shown Casanova taking a scan of the Polaroid of Kate and sending it to, at this time, an unknown accomplice. We cut back to Alex following his investigation to Dr. Wick Sachs, who, word on the street, has it that Sachs has given some extra special care to his young, pretty patients. But Cross immediately gets a beep telling him that Kate has been kidnapped. Back in the Batcave, though, Kate breaks the rules and calls out, discovering other women are held captive with her in different cells, including, as we are shown, Naomi. We are shown Cross continuing to work the case while at home as a handwritten note from Casanova is slid under his door. He's too late to catch him, but determines that he's tracking the case and that the women are still alive. Back in the underground layer, Casanova looks to punish Kate for her defiance, but is overpowered and finds her way into the woods where she jumps off a cliff into a river to ensure her freedom.
Another nightmare of a situation, waking up bound in a room and then hearing a strange man's voice. Man, this movie is scary, man. From a realism standpoint, this is horrifying. More good police work by Cross in the interview scene at the pool, but it's another that I question. Is it necessary? Kate shows great fear as we see her trembling hands in that cell. She does a great job. This is an interesting aspect of this movie. The killer keeps multiple victims all at the same time and allows them to communicate. I think this is interesting. Not sure why Cross isn't more on edge from the get-go getting this note put under his door, but it goes 0 to 100 real quick. About gave some hotel occupants a heart attack with that gun to their face when he's chasing after him. This killer is so unserious. Kate got away from him way too easily, and of course, she trips. I'm not mad at her for escaping, but let's be serious, movie. And now she runs into a branch and falls, and then she trips over another branch. Come on, man. I know you're running frantic, but 3 trips and 1 runaway scene is a little ridiculous. This leap would be scary as hell off the cliff, but I would do it too. I would rather die trying to live. No way I'm letting a sadist capture me again. She got dangerously close to them rocks, though. That was kind of scary, but I'm glad she got away.
I probably won't have to worry about this being a major fear of mine. I just meant specifically me. I won't probably have to worry about it, but being kidnapped and tied up scares the bejesus out of me, man. It literally scares the shit out of me. It's a major fear. To just have no control over your own situation is something that I can't stand. Again, this guy's a fucking creep, a weirdo. And, we've seen these kind of people in other movies we've done. Just way too many kidnapping people scenarios on the movies we've done lately, for sure. This is a really early use of online sharing like this. And it's, these kind of snuff films or kind of deep, depraved movies and photos are, there's still a market for this shit. Just really sick shit. I love how Morgan Freeman's character calls this guy out for fucking some of his patients. It's like an episode of You out here, man. Which can't wait to do that on DGOT, the series. She's in this cellar thing. It looks like they puts the lotion on his skin. There's just some Silence of the Lambs stuff in this movie that I couldn't ignore. I do like that we get right here that Naomi is still alive for sure. As a viewer of the audience, we do finally get to see that the person that Cross is after is actually alive. It took a little longer than I'd like, but they're starting to connect the dots between the two stories that are kind of going on simultaneously, which I liked it. I love the way that Ashley Judd's character ropes him in to getting away by him being overly cocky and confident in the situation. I think playing that against him was really smart. Shows that, smart character, not a stupid horror movie character, just has some sense about her. I'm not going to lie. I'm not so sure I would have jumped in the water myself here. That would have been a tough go. Kudos to her for that. Maybe Ashley Judd did her own stunt there.
Yeah, man, talk about terrifying. Like waking up after being abducted and a motherfucker in a mask says that you're there to fall in love. And he clearly knows like you because he mentioned the kickboxing stuff. Like, holy shit. Hearing all the different women's voices, that's gut wrenching. This guy has a whole mob of women down there. I like the circling camera shots as Cross and the other cops were talking about Casanova. I thought that was really well done from a filmmaking standpoint. But I don't like the slow motion editing when Kate extends her arm. Like, that's so dated. That was a very 90s thing. And why the fuck didn't she lock him in that room when she ran out? Like, it clearly locks from the outside. It seems like a dumb character decision that's unlike what an intelligent doctor would do. And speaking of unlikely, no fucking way she survived that jump. No, I know it put her in the hospital, but come on. I'm not buying that. But anyway, go ahead.
Ruskin, Sykes, and Cross all arrived to the hospital where Kate was taken to after being found. Cross quickly builds up a rapport with Dr. Rocco, played by Roma Mafia from Nip Tuck fame, and charms his way into visiting with Kate, using his niece's abduction to play to her empathy. He learns some drug is doing damage to Kate's system and her body is slowly shutting down. Cross uses some of his skills learned from working at Wayne Enterprises and discovers the drug causing the issue is in fact Systol. He's right, of course. And Kate wakes up the next morning telling him that she talked to Naomi, so she's still alive along with the other girls. Upon regaining strength, Kate asks and is given the opportunity by local police to give a statement at her press conference. She wanted to reiterate to her captor that she was the only one to blame for her escape. The other women did not aid. Cross continues his investigation with Kate's aid and a great performance from Judd recounting events. Cross discovers that a local plastic surgeon, Dr. Will Rudolph, ordered a large quantity of Systol recently and could possibly be the killer known as a gentleman caller, as his abductions seem to parallel the ones of Casanova. Cross decides not to give him to the FBI and calls in a favor using his cousin and partner John Sampson, who we saw at the beginning of the movie, to begin surveillance on Rudolph. They follow Rudolph out to his cabin deep in the woods, and we discover Rudolph is Jason 6 and Ghost alum Tony Goldwyn, as he apparently has no situational awareness that he's being followed at all. The investigation intensifies as they plan on a sting on Rudolph in a nightclub. Kate decides to not stay put, as she's instructed to do, and asks Henry to help her blend in. Go ahead, Nico.
Hey, is Ghost a movie we could review on this show? I'm just curious. I mean, it's kind of got some scary moments. Got demons in it.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna say yes because I plan on picking a ghost story one day, and that movie's not scary at all. But it's about ghosts, so yeah, let's do it. We'll do horror love story month, and we can do a ghost story, Ghost. That's the only two that I can think of, but we'll make it work.
Fair enough. Morgan Freeman, the man oozes riz chatting with the doctor to see his niece. Man has just so much charisma on screen. I thought it was good makeup effects on Kate when, she's in the hospital bed. And her portrayal of PTSD, I thought she did a fantastic job as well. I want to compliment her bravery, too, to speak to the media so soon after this incident. She's unlike Maxine at all. She's very proactive, trying to help save these girls. I think Judd's interview session with Cross was a little meh at first. But when she's crying, saying she felt she left those girls, I felt her hurt. It's a good scene between Judd and Freeman, and I loved her line when she tells him, "Don't treat me like a victim." She's very proactive. I like that a lot. As soon as I see Jeremy Piven, all I can hear is buttercream, buttercream. Let's put a dead animal on you. It's all I can see. Thrilled to see Tony Goldwyn on my screen, like you mentioned, Brian. Another actor who's appeared at least, 4 times on this show, top of my head. Shout out to Jason Lives, The Belko Experiment. What else? Dexter. I know there's another one, but I can't think of it right off the top of my head right now. This. And Henry, he caved fast as hell to Kate. I get it, but you're a cop, man. You gotta still be a cop.
Dude, wait till you hear something I've gotten here. That's crazy.
The media would get annoying like this if you were just trying to do your job. Like, all you were trying to do was investigate this crime, and there's just media everywhere. That would annoy the fuck out of me too, man. If there was one voice, if I'm Ashley Judd here and I've just gotten away from a kidnapper and I'm in this scary hospital scenario, if there's one voice I wouldn't mind, it would be Morgan Freeman, of all people. I certainly think that would be a little comforting at this point. I always wanted him to be my Siri, to be honest. And then the situation, she just kind of, this doctor that's watching Ashley Judd just kind of takes Morgan Freeman's word for it. A little trustworthy for working in a hospital. I don't know, man. Then he grabs her eyeball. Just some. I don't know, man. Anyway, then Ashley Judd trying to tell her about her experience with this kidnapper, and Morgan Freeman just walks the fuck away when he's tried to, or when she's trying to, talk about her struggle. I thought that was funny. Maybe it was just me that thought that. I don't know. This is a really great. There's some really great acting here by Ashley Judd. Her emotional breakdown was really, really good. Just how she kind of like starts out slow. She's in her own head and then speeds up, obviously gets emotional. She's shown so far to not be that character. So to have that breakdown, I thought was, it layers it for sure. Also really like the scene of Naomi playing violin over the splice scenes of Casanova and Dr. Cross. There's just some really good stuff back and forth here. And we get to see a little more detective work discoveries by Freeman. I think him and Judd have really good on-screen chemistry. A little Jeremy Piven cameo here. That was interesting. But I'm a little, it took me a little bit to kind of figure out what was going on. But while taking notes, I was just a little lost to why they were in Los Angeles when the killer was in North. There's a lot going on here. But shout out again to the Durham Bulls, man.
Her blood and urine were clean. What the fuck was he injecting her with? Oh, Systol, of course. I kind of wish they hadn't got to that conclusion so quickly. Like they should have stretched her health deterioration longer, build that suspense and tension. Like it was way too quick for me, especially when you've got a 2-hour movie. Basically, like you could have stretched that. Really hate how the scene was edited when Kate was telling Cross about what she remembers. It's very of the time, but it's one of those things that doesn't hold up at all. And watching it in 24, it stands out like in such a bad way. Here we go. We see Jeremy Piven, and I got to be honest, I thought he'd be in way more movies than he has been, to be honest with you. Like, if you think back in the day, I thought he was next up on the comedy scene, but he just hasn't been. But I'll always be thankful for Buttercream. What size is the waist? Like, hell yeah. He was hilarious in Rush Hour 2, and he's really good in The Goods. Anyway, at this point in the movie, I have a few questions. One, why are they letting a doctor with no experience in law enforcement tag along and consult like this? Like, it seems unlikely to me, but maybe I'm wrong. I know she's a victim. She can maybe get some insight, but let her go these places with her and let her be this involved. I don't know. Seems a little unlikely. And two, how do we still have an hour left? Like, I've seen this movie before, but every time around this point, I wonder what took them so long to wrap it up after they find him. So I don't know. Not a terrible set. I know it probably seems like I'm being harsher on the movie than I am.
Right. In the nightclub, Kate recognizes Rudolph's touch, confirming him as Casanova. Wrong. They follow him back to his cabin, and chaos ensues as they raid the place following screams of the girl Rudolph picked up at the nightclub. He escapes, however, and Henry and Cross are both shot in the process and crucified on the local news, described as a rogue branch of the FBI, despite saving a woman's life. Kate and Alex show up at Rudolph's house, and after a brief altercation with Special Agent Kyle and an apology from Cross, he's let back in. He's shown a commercial-grade hidden refrigerator where Rudolph kept his trophies in connection with Casanova as well, as they were collaborators and competitors. Upon returning to Durham, Cross finds the local PD has arrested Dr. Sachs, who admits to having a sexual relationship with Megan, and begins to taunt Cross with description of Naomi's body, to which pushes Cross over the edge, and he attacks him in the interrogation room.
Piven, he continues to be the, gay, zesty stylist from Rush Hour 2 in my eyes. It's unfortunate, but that's all I can see when I see the man. I mean, he was good in The Goods. That's a funny movie, but every time I see him, all I can see is Chris Tucker. Watch it, sweetness. Kate immediately walks in, identifying Rudolph. A little convenient, but I like her and Cross, so I let it slide. How the hell did Rudolph get outside so easy without being seen, and why doesn't Cross shoot at the vehicle? I don't get this at all. And then Kate sacrificed herself in a car, and Cross still doesn't shoot. That's not a nitpick. That's just frustrating to me. Shoot that man. This is interesting when Cross says there's two of them collaborating and competing on opposite coasts. Freeman, he continues to be great as always, albeit he was frustrating in the last little set. Dr. Wick Sachs. This guy has an evil name, and he has a sketchy face. I don't like him, even if he is innocent. When Sax puts his glasses on, he looks like Rick Moranis and Harold Ramis slam their faces together.
Nice.
That's all I can see. And damn, Wick is talking about this man's niece now. This guy's not fucking around. I do not blame Cross at all for slamming him to the wall.
This team of people got to Los Angeles faster than Michael Myers did. What the hell, man? and we know Mikey can drive. So anyway, work by everyone kind of finding the right guy, but also, of course, he's just going to run you the fuck over. Like that was, I don't know, bad planning on that end. For a minute, I thought they were going for a weird Judd Freeman romance. No interest in that. No, thank you. And remember when you booked a flight via the phone? It sure did date itself, because here, man, you could just do it on an app. Boom, boom, boom. You're on a plane. It's interesting how time changes things. This is kind of a little bit of a qualm I have with the film, I guess. Basically just a medical doctor playing detective. And I know we all kind of do that when we listen to like a true crime podcast, but like, I don't know, she's actually on, she's like taking her opinion into consideration here. And I know she went through an experience, but again, she's a victim, and I'm not saying her word shouldn't be valued, but I just found that interesting how they're just going to let it. But it's a little bit unrealistic for me personally. Finally, the cross-country collab made sense, and I actually like it because I hinted at it earlier with the email chain or the calling and sending stuff over the internet back and forth. I thought, okay, that makes a lot more sense. I love this interrogation scene to end this. Cross is good, but he met his match here a little bit. He gets flustered and frustrated. I love the back and forth. He got Cross to break when talking about Naomi. I thought that was really, really good work by Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, I get so annoyed that Kate got out of the car and walked into the club and they didn't rush her out. Like, realism be damned if it tells a good story. And then they got to be the worst cops ever. How did they have him outnumbered like that and then let him escape the house and then let Kate steal their car? And then Cross had his gun drawn and still got ran over. Just embarrassing police work. Cross talking to Kyle reminded me of Jim Calhoun talking about why he didn't recruit Ryan Gomes. You want me to say I fucked up? I fucked up. I took Emeka Okafor. He's not half bad. It's one of my favorite clips from Jim Calhoun. The revelation that there may be two bad guys, that's a good development. So what I was saying earlier about how's this movie still have an hour? Well, there's a wrinkle. There's another guy. So I like that. I like the variously fuck young women. This guy thinks he's me. What a bar.
Oh,
but
Jesus.
this guy's a bold son of a bitch. Cross, he showed a lot more restraint than I would have. I'd have beat the brakes off him. Go ahead.
Back in Casanova's tunnels, we are shown Rudolph enter Naomi's room before we cut back to Cross, telling Kate that the police have the wrong person. She admits to having heard water while in captivity. With the help of Naomi's boyfriend, once again, who is familiar with the history of the area, the three of them locate the general vicinity in which they believe Casanova's hideout could be. While in the woods looking, they're alerted to the location due to a gunshot via an argument between the gentleman caller and Casanova. Cross enters the hideout and through a climactic confrontation and great cinematic shots is able to rescue the girls and shoot Rudolph. Unfortunately, as William lies dying, tells Cross that Casanova is too good and he will never catch him. Quick scene by scene, but a lot happening there. Go ahead, Nico.
Tony Goldwyn, he does such a good job as a villain. Props to him always. He's menacing, talking to Naomi. I like Tony Goldwyn a lot. He's cool. Typical library research scene that turns into investigate the area scene. Nothing wrong, but it is pretty formulaic. The concept of two killers is cool, but it's weird that the second one is off screen with his clearly distorted voice. Goldwyn continues to be a menace, but damn, Casanova shot folk. This is an evil duo. Cross with a whiff of a shot on Will, and the sound effects were rough in the slow motion fall into the water below. Yeah, this is 90s as hell. However, I hope that doesn't warrant another mean Apple Podcast review, which we have gotten one of those before when we said a movie is too 80s. Cross almost gets pet cemeteried by a semi out of nowhere. Shout out to Randy Orton. I don't know how a semi you don't hear until it's about to run your ass over. Who taught the people in this movie to shoot? Will whiffs on Cross, who's standing completely still in the open. My God, man. What the hell is going on? Did Jim Carrey from fucking Dumb and Dumber teach these guys? And finally, Cross lands a shot on Will. He's too good. That's a weird name. Sorry, I had to. Decent set of scenes, though.
Yeah, this is definitely a ragtag bunch doing better than the actual local police there. I love that we still don't technically know who Casanova is either. Interact, he's interacting with his accomplice or this other killer like he's a peon, a nobody. And I kind of like there's power levels to this setup here. There's just great visuals here in the mountains. They're making for some great shots while they're kind of trying to, hunt down who they're looking for. This man fell down a well in the 90s. That's pretty crazy. This isn't 1745, man. Anyway, sorry. I guess I just noticed little stuff like that. I think this chase scene is intense, but I think we're dragging it out a smidge. And I feel like that's just a common complaint I have with chase scenes. Like, it has to be really, really good and compelling. But it's fine. We established that he's good at what he does and really hard to catch. So I will give him that. And I think that kind of plays into who it is towards the end. It makes a lot more sense. But yeah, that's all I had on that one.
Yeah. Cross getting Seth to help him locate the plantation is strange to me. Like, what is it with law enforcement consulting civilians in this movie? I don't know. That really bugged me. The whole scene in the dungeon here, it's just too long and overly dramatic for me. Rudolph and Casanova's conversation didn't move me, and I laughed when Cross fell through the floor. And the idiots flying down the road, hanging out the window with beer bottles, that annoyed me too. It's like, come on, have you ever seen or done it where you're riding down a back road just hanging out the window with your buddies with beer bottles in your hands? No one has. I'm ready to wrap it up. I don't hate it, though. Probably sounds like it.
All right, here's a quick ending here. We open up with the FBI finding Casanova's next crop and are shown Cross visiting Naomi in the hospital. Knowing he's leaving soon to return to D.C., Kate won't accept no to a dinner invitation to Alex. Later that evening, while preparing dinner, Ruskin is revealed to be Casanova and shows up to kill Kate, the one that got away. In a twist of fate, Cross discovers the similarity between Casanova's handwriting and Detective Ruskin's signature at just the right time, and upon realizing that he is Casanova, rushes to save Kate. Of course, showing up just to the nick of time and being unable to rush to shoot Dr. Lawrence Gordon because of a gas leak caused from the struggle. Cross stalls using his negotiating techniques shown to us in the opening scene. This opens up an opportunity later to shield the gunshot using a box of food so as not to ignite the gas, and is able to gun down Casanova Ruskin with the voice of Billy Zane. Go ahead.
A lot happens in the opening of this set of scenes. Loud noises, zoom ins on the blueprints, Kyle giving orders out, bunch of camera flashes. I don't know. I kind of got overstimulated. It happens really quick, but it slows you right back down. I don't know. It caught my attention. And what the hell is going on here? I'm more disturbed by Kate demanding Ruskin to cook than I am that he is the second killer. This chick's kind of demanding it, and she just wanted to walk in and check on it, and then all of a sudden he's got to start cooking. What the hell's going on? Cary Elwes' accent continues to be unbelievable, but then this is where I give the movie props. Okay, good job, movie. I like that he drops the accent in this reveal to Kate. This is actually very tense. Very weak cut attempt by Kate, though. Come on now. He gave you a free shot, and that was your cut attempt. That was pretty weak. Cross is driving like a typical Tallahassee student through town to get to Kate's house. I thought that was hilarious. I wish this music wasn't playing during this scene whenever Ruskin is on top of Kate on the table. This is meant to be horrific, but this upbeat R&B music, it distracts from it. Ruskin said, if I die, everyone dies with his gas leaking lighter. I thought that was hilarious. But, of course, Cross, he arrives right on time. But I'm going to give Cross his props. Shooting Ruskin through a milk jug to not ignite the gas leak. That's one of the most MacGyver things I've ever seen. I was truly proud of that. Good movie. Nothing groundbreaking. But I thought it was a very solid flick.
Again, more media, keeping people from doing their fucking jobs, as always. And again, looked like we were about to do another romance angle. And it kind of looked like they were just going to wrap this up without ever giving us who Casanova is. That was going to piss me off. They did not do that, obviously. That would drive me fucking nuts the way it clearly did Morgan Freeman's character of Cross here. I fucking knew it was Cary Elwes, and I knew it was the bad actor. Sorry, I just had to get that dig in again. I called it from the beginning with that bullshit accent and everything, man. Makes for it makes for an intense scene, though, because it's the race against time. And as a viewer, you know Morgan Freeman has figured it out. Judd has not. And that race against time where he can get over there and hopefully save the day is very interesting because he's playing it nonchalant. He's helping her cut vegetables and all this other stuff. I really liked this scene. Again, this song, when, Elwes and Judd are battling back and forth. Not what I imagined for this big climactic scene here, but I did like it. I liked their fight. I liked the struggle. And I liked that she didn't really need Cross to come and save her. Sure, it helps. But I feel like she may have made it out of the situation without him. So I thought that's also nice. I love the back and forth here with Morgan Freeman and Carrie Elwes. I think it's really good. He's trying to play those mind games, but it only kind of works, or he's like giving it back to him. I do think it's nice, that little tit for tat. He shot through the milk. I don't know, maybe I missed something. He shot through milk. That's the closing thing I have there. The killer reveal was obvious, but very good. And I think it worked really, really well. I thought it was a really good film, for sure.
So, Cross, my guy, you better go to that dinner. Look at her. I'd have been there before. I wouldn't have even went home. Anyway, great shit with Cross noticing the similarities between the handwriting and the cuts to the back of, and then it cuts back to Kate's home as Ruskin arrives. Great final twist. It's tense as fuck. But the tension is fumbled to me. Cross is haul-assing across town, but she realizes who Ruskin is before he gets there, and she has a knife and doesn't do anything. Pissed down her leg. Moment was too big. To me, it was drawn out too much. The scene should have been much shorter and had Cross show up almost immediately after she made the connection, at least to me, because to me it pissed me off that she had the knife and still got her ass whooped. But Cross did show up at a great time right before he lit the place up. But if Nick was going to light the place up, why would he stop? Like, why would he stop just because now Cross is there? Anyway.
He wanted to talk. He just wanted to have a little chatty chat. That's all.
But why? But Cross, he should have shot him immediately. He was safe. Mythbusters proved that it's nearly impossible for the muzzle flash of a gun to cause a room full of natural gas to explode. And, Nico, I'm going to go opposite way with you. I dislike the gun barrel to the milk carton slow motion. Well, I think it's mostly the slow motion part. It wasn't the milk carton that bothered me, but how it was all shot in slow motion, like I said earlier, is just very dated. But overall, it's not a bad ending. Good wins, evil loses.
Absolutely. You guys have anything else you wanted to say before we jump into social media?
Nope.
All
All right, the first comment we got on Instagram is from Jenny Conway02. She said, "This movie is so good." I agree, it is very good.
Yes.
Amanda Please 84 commented, "Classic movie. Ashley Judd is great in this and Double Jeopardy.
Yes.
Morgan Freeman always kills it. Fun fact, this movie was filmed around where I live in North Carolina. Hell yeah." Fizzy Lizzy 777 commented, "This is an underrated gem. So glad you guys are reviewing this film. The cast in this is great. It's based off the James Patterson book. Overall, I think the movie does a good depiction from the book. The book is much darker of assaults involved. Also, did anyone catch that was Billy Blanks in the beginning? I could not see that. That's my man Tybo. Again, always a fan of you guys with the heart emoji. Appreciate that." Missy Hutchinson Wall, former legendary blood donor, commented, "Great movie and book." And the last comment we have is from Dana Tucker herself with the emoji and "let's do this."
If you're listening, it was the all teeth showing emoji because you couldn't see his face. But I've got X pulled up now, the artist formerly known as Twitter. Jenny Conway said, "Love this movie." And then Randy Smith, Go Dog, said, "Yay, it's not an A24 film." And then our pod account replied, "No more of those for about a month." So, yeah, suck it. We got more A24 in the pipeline.
Gross. Book of Faces, Meg Stone. I love this movie. Fantastic acting. I really like how the plot was framed. Absolutely. Christina Tower. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought Ashley Judd and Morgan Freeman had great chemistry. Good pick, guys. Hope you all are well. Well, thanks to Dana Tucker for that one, for picking it, not us. But Michelle Mirza. I love this movie. I saw it in the theater when it came out, and it scared the shit out of me. Great pick. Absolutely. And Cheyenne Turner. Funny story. Friends and I had to see this because I Know What You Did Last Summer was sold out. Really liked it. Ended up reading a bunch of Alex Cross books. I love the part where she jumps off the cliff. Like, fuck you, psycho. She didn't know if she was going to live or die. She just wasn't going to let him be the one to take her out. Absolutely. That's all we got there. Nico, do you have the budget?
I do. This is from the Internet Movie Database. The budget was an estimated $27 million, and the gross worldwide is $60,527,873.
Nice.
Not bad. Good turnaround.
Not too shabby. Not too shabby. Fun facts. Dustin, you got those? Because I do not have any of those today.
I do. I've said a few of them, but I've got a few more. Ashley Judd took kickboxing lessons from stuntman David Lee before filming. She insisted on doing many of her own stunts, but the studio finally put their foot down when she wanted to leap off a 150-foot waterfall. A stuntman wearing a wig made the jump instead, narrowly missing the rocks as he plummeted through the falls to the water below. This movie was denied a cinema release in Virginia due to the unsolved murders of 3 girls in the area. It was deemed to be insensitive to the families involved to release the film in the affected communities.
Damn.
This one, this is not a fun fact at all, but it was during this film that Ashley Judd was sexually harassed by Harvey Weinstein. So,
damn.
Worth noting, her lawsuit against him was because of her experience on this film. And then the last one I've got is that Morgan Freeman was, of course, in The Shawshank Redemption with Eugene Krabs himself, Clancy Brown, who was in Just Before I Go with David Arquette.
Fantastic. All right, so before we jump into favorite kill, least favorite kill, let me read what legendary blood donor Dana Tucker sent on this movie. Dana Tucker here, blood donor extraordinaire. She made that up. It's not a real thing. She said that too. The first thing I'll say is please donate to this podcast, or as I refer to them, my boys, because they'll make you laugh until you cry. And the next thing you know, you'll be watching a movie you've seen over and over because their perspectives are always unbelievable. I'm always like, what the hell? How did I miss that? Guess I need a rewatch. Appreciate that, Dana. Why did I choose Kiss the Girls? Well, the acting is top notch. Ashley Judd and Morgan Freeman are magic together. The layer where the girls are kept is scary as hell. The creepy voiceover is enough to make you twitch. The end will hopefully catch you by surprise. And if you haven't seen it yet, that's not my fault. It's not horror. It's a hell of a thriller. And it's definitely worth a watch or two. Oh, and I have to say this. Hey, Tony Goldwyn, call me sometime. I picked this movie to do something different. You may like it or not, as it can get slow in the middle, and the runtime is a bit long. I'm talking to you, Mike. But I feel the acting made it over the top good. I'm going to give it an 8 overall rating for the acting, drama, suspense, and the twist ending. And one more thing, if you don't keep listening to my boys, I have one thing to say. Don't go out there. I will find you.
It's like
There
Liam
you go.
Neeson. Okay.
Better listen to that shit. Thank you, Dana. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
We do appreciate it.
Very much so appreciate it.
I'll go
Absolutely.
first.
Go
Favorite
ahead.
kill, least favorite kill in the rating. I'll kick us off. Favorite kill, I'm going to go with Dr. Gordon getting shot through the milk jug. I mean, I think the only couple kills we see is them, or I guess the lady tied up in the tree. I'm still going with Dr. Gordon just because I thought it was cool that he got shot through a milk jug. Least favorite kill, I'm going to go with Tony Goldwyn. Because my God, how terrible were those guys that shooting each other? That was just I think that was just bad luck he got hit, to be honest with you. But I've kind of given my general thoughts on the film overall. It's a solid thriller, man. It's fun. It's good. It's a 90s thriller. It's a good watch. Great acting. I love Morgan Freeman. Like, literally every movie I've seen him in, I really like him in every role. I mean, Seven, Bruce Almighty, Shawshank. I can't remember what that movie is with him and Jack Nicholson when they're old guys. Fantastic movie. Love it.
The Bucket List.
Yeah. Great movie. Love that movie. And I know I'm sure y'all are surprised I've seen it. But anywho, it's just a formulaic movie. It's got some frustrating things in it, but I gave it a 7.5.
Yeah, I don't really have a favorite kill. I would say, I just don't really have a favorite or least favorite kill. I will say, I pretty much said all my thoughts in the open. Thought it was really good. One of those fun crime scene thrillers that we all talk about. I think the acting is great. I think some of the visuals are great. There's a lot to like here. I'm glad Dana picked it because I probably would have never gone out of my way to watch it, and I'm glad I've seen it. So after all that, I give this movie a 7.25.
Okay.
You want to go ahead, Dustin?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and get mine. Favorite kill was Ruskin. Look, I hated the slow motion stuff, but at least the bad guy died and there was good tension in that scene. Least favorite kill was the girl at the beginning. It was off screen, and by all accounts, she did not deserve it. Rating, it's a pretty standard 90s cop thriller, but that's not to say it's a bad thing, though. The cast is phenomenal, and they acted their asses off. It's pretty good. I gave it a 6.5.
All right, I'm going to be higher than even Dana, so I'll go ahead and give you a warning on that one. I love all of these 90s crime thrillers. I said that to begin with. And if you don't like this one, which it doesn't sound like any of us on the show hate it, so that's a good thing there, because Along Came a Spider and Bone Collector is definitely on my list. I just added Double Jeopardy as well. Nico said earlier, I quote, "This is 90s as hell," which to me is a good thing. Chalk that shit up. I gave it a 9. I love this movie.
Ooh, okay. All right, so that gives us a composite score of a 7.65. IMDb has it at a 6.6, so hey, we're a little higher, but that's okay. Rotten Tomatoes. Anyone want to guess?
I got a feeling they're going to be low.
Fuck Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know.
34%.
Man, fuck you, Rotten Tomatoes.
Those critics were not fans, apparently.
No.
But
Do you have the audience score by any chance from Rotten Tomatoes?
I can't get it.
I'm just curious what the audience score is over there.
Yeah.
I don't understand the critics at Rotten Tomatoes.
Critic score or fan score is 62%. So Rotten Tomatoes audience score and IMDb, the Internet Movie Database score, those are pretty similar because that's both just you and I. That's just Jimmy's and Joe's doing this. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, very fair. Dana, we appreciate you. Your
Yes.
donations. We know we got 2 more of those. We'll get to them. We promise. Guys, any final thoughts before I just shout out our blood donors? And Brian, you can announce your pick for next week. All right, let me shout out our blood donors. Legendary blood donor, Dana Tucker, 3-time legendary blood donor. We have 2 reviews left to do. We appreciate you. Camper level reoccurring Nina, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, Alex Elgin, Michael Evans, Steve Schmidt, and Michelle Mirza. Camp counselor, Edwin Hernandez Gunn, Joe Swinford, Adrian Aiello, Brian Samick, Andrew Ferguson, Brooke Maley, Thorne David Phillips, Heather Superdoc, Jennifer Davis from the Too Close to Home pod. If you like true crime, go check them out. Dana Tucker, Cole McAlexander, and Max K. We appreciate y'all. I'll just go ahead and announce Mike's theme for next month. He chose September. It's also the month of September. So basically, we all have to pick a movie that was released in the month of September. I think it's a really interesting theme, to be honest with you. And I think it's a really good month of picks, to be honest. Brian, you kick us off with what?
Yeah, I said a long time ago that I wanted to kind of knock out some of these sequels to some of the in some of the franchises that we've started but not, really progressed on. And we've done Insidious. I know. Do we just do the instant reaction on the Red Door? We didn't actually do that, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
So I guess next in line, Insidious 2. Looking at 2013's Insidious 2, FSU national champions. It was a good year.
My favorite Insidious movie.
I haven't seen it in a long time, so hopefully I like it better than I did the first and the fifth.
I hope so. Anyway, we appreciate you, Dana, for your legendary blood donor review. We've got 2 more.
Thank you, Dana.
We appreciate you a lot. Thank y'all for listening, and we'll be back next week.